Are you close to all the wonder and beauty of the universe? Have you grown a winning star? I'm Esther Bloom. If you have thought of entering your creation in a flower show but don't know where to begin, our guests today from the San Dieguito Garden Club will start you on your journey. They are Evelyn Rogers, past president and current corresponding secretary, and Nadine Starr, both nationally accredited flower show judges. Welcome to PACE. We're so delighted to have you here amidst all this beauty, especially. Evelyn, what are the objectives of a garden club?
A garden club is to educate the public. It's to provide an opportunity for members to show what they grow and what they design. And it's also an opportunity to promote the objectives of the National Flower Show or the National Garden Club.
Which are what?
Which are what?
Yeah.
To conserve, to promote the use of flowers and the development of flowers.
And what about plants in general?
Plants in general, yes.
Now, are they concerned with the conservation so that, especially water use, which has a tendency to be overused in the growth of things?
That's a very big objective for them, especially out here in California, where there seems to be constant water shortages, and the new push now is toward the plants that don't use as much water.
Yeah, well, I remember when we first moved out here, and we had closed on the house in December, and when we moved out here in May, we came onto our property and we saw a rash of beautiful yellow buds, of little flowers, and I thought, oh my gosh, somebody has planted something already. Little did I know that they were considered weeds. Who decides that something is a weed?
They said it's a weed if it's growing where you don't want it to be.
Well, that was it. That was it. What is a standard flower show?
A standard flower show is a show that is goes under the rules of national garden clubs. And it is called a standard flower show simply because regardless of where it is being shown, whether it's in Kansas or whether it's in New York or whether it's in California, they still follow the same basic rules that are established by national.
Oh, so you have to follow certain guidelines then?
Absolutely.
And what is the purpose of your show?
The purpose, again, is to educate. It's to encourage people to try new plants, to look into what grows in their area, and to take a step forward rather than just going down and getting what you can get at the local 5 and 10, to look for new flowers and encourage the developers to develop new flowers.
Yeah, well, is that how hybrids came into being?
It is, yes.
Yeah, a combination of seeds, or I don't know how they're actually grown, but when you look at some things and you say, I've never seen anything like this before. For example, in certain flowers, tulips in particular, I remember seeing them with basic colors for years and years, yes. And now they have all kinds of striations.
They work very hard to develop new ones, and it goes in styles, just like clothes and your fashions in your home. But the more that the demand is there, the more encouragement that the growers have to expand.
So is
and
the
we
flower...
in California, so many of us are implants from other states. And for myself, I came from the Northwest. When I came down here, I had entirely different flowers to learn about. And this is very much a part of our garden club flower show in educating people what they can grow in their own gardens.
Oh, that's an extraordinary thing. I know when I came here for the first time and I saw that people had birds of paradise in their gardens, and I was spending something like $3.75 for just one stem.
Right.
I thought, I need to be here. This is an amazing place because you have flowers year-round, even in bleak winter. You know, when it's so gray elsewhere, there's always color here, and that's so beautiful. Is this an annual event?
Yes, it is. We are having these flower shows open to the public, and we encourage people to enter and take part, be educated, and we have people who help you enter. If you haven't done it before, we can help you. So be encouraged to come.
Well, if somebody wanted to contact your club, I would imagine that you have a website where people could learn how to reach you, to find out about your meetings, and how often do you meet?
We meet once a month on the fourth Wednesday of every month except for July and August, where we are off then. But we meet at Quail Gardens, and we meet at 9. Yeah, in Encinitas at 9 in the morning, and we have fantastic programs.
So is that where your show is located, at the Quail Gardens in Encinitas?
Yeah.
And I guess that information about how to apply would be available on your website too, or I'm sure there's the contact number. It's for somebody to get more information. Now, what are the basic requirements for entering? Are they laid down by the
We have a booklet
national?
called the Schedule, and that is the law of the show, and it lays out all the different rules that you are expected to conform to. It will tell you the classes for the design division, to give the designer inspiration for creating her design. And it will tell you what flowers, what horticulture you can bring, what plants. And the title this year is Nature's Stars. And we think it's going to be very challenging.
Well, what is the theme based on?
It's based on movies.
Oh.
So as a suggestion on the different sections, we'll have a movie title. And it's only to give someone a little bit of an idea. They take that theme and use their own creativity to come up with a design or to work on the plants that they want to enter.
Now, would this be typical of an entry into this year's theme of movies or movie stars?
One of our members, who is a very fine designer, has created that, and it's called Out of Africa. And she has used things typical of South Africa, the protea, and there is a flax creation that she has made into the form of a flower. And this one is To Russia with Love. And you see she has used the turrets to emphasize that phase.
Oh, well, they're absolutely exquisite. Now, are there limitations to what you can bring to a show?
We that is all spelled out in our schedule. We emphasize fresh plant material, and that's basically what we design with. And horticulture, we ask you to bring your nicest plants. They must have been in your possession for 90 days. You can't go down to Kmart and buy a plant and enter it. You must have had it for 90 days. And then we have cut material, which is brought in, bird of paradise, alstroemeria, all kinds. and that is spelled out in our schedule.
Well, you mentioned birds of paradise. Well, would you bring in an arrangement or a single specimen?
You can, as you see, she has used the bird of paradise in her design, but you can also bring a single specimen.
A single
Specimen, and we ask that you put it in a clear glass container, glass or plastic container.
Well, you wouldn't bring it in a jelly jar, would you? I mean, does the proportion of the jar have anything to do with the flower that you're
very
bringing?
much. Your eye will tell you what is a good display.
So even though it isn't elegant, I mean, it can be a very simple glass bottle. It still has to be in proportion to the, and what is that? Is that 1/3 of the array of the flower?
There's really no rule.
No rule.
But the things that you want to be careful of is you don't want any of the leaves below the water line. So you're going to have water in these, and the reason for that is because the plant will die quickly that way. You also, the reason we ask for a clear jar is when it's being judged, the stem is also looked at. So if it's in a jar that you can't see the stem, then the judges are at a disadvantage, and the person that put it in is at a disadvantage because they may have beautiful leaves and beautiful stem that should be judged that the judges can't see.
Now, do
The
you
judges
have to have
are not
grown that?
allowed to take a plant out of the container. It must. That's the reason for the clear container, so they can see the stem, judge that as well as the flower. The whole display is judged, not just the bloom.
So in a case like that, you had to have grown it.
Yes,
That's right.
From seed.
All the horticulture must be grown by the exhibitor.
It doesn't have to be by seed though. From seed though, it can, as long as it was in your possession. So if you bought a potted plant and you have it for 90 days and you get a flower off of that you want to enter, then that's perfectly okay.
Okay. So to whom is the show open?
It's open to everybody, and we would encourage everyone to come and enter, and if you don't enter, at least come to see it. It's amazing, and you learn so much about what is grown in that area, and in the microclimates that we have here. What will grow in one person's area may not grow in another. So with these being regional flower shows, you learn what grows in that area.
And the show will be open for 3 days, so you will have an opportunity, if you're not available the first day, come on Saturday or Sunday.
Do you have any children's programs?
We have last year we had a children's program, and we're continuing this year. It was actually for children of all ages. We had them come, and they were given a vase, and they were given flowers, which had been donated to the club. They made their own arrangements. They got a award, and they got to take their design home. And it was so cute to watch these children at this event. And this year we're going to also have a bit of an Easter egg hunt for them. We're going to challenge them to find things like a dragonfly or a dinosaur in the children's garden at Quail, and as they follow it around, it will lead them to where they'll do their design.
What would make somebody, a beginner, for example, hesitate to apply to enter the show?
I know with our members, when we first started, they were totally intimidated.
Yeah.
And I think they were afraid that, first of all, they didn't know what they were going to be judged on.
Yeah.
And they were afraid that the judges were going to be harsh. And the judges aren't. The judges want you to come. They want you to learn from it. And like I say, I think this year we're going to have 5 times as many entries because they've relaxed, and they also came in and they looked at some of the flowers and they said, mine's prettier than that. I should have put mine in.
Well, I have a plant, let's say, just as an example. And I have beautiful foliage, but when I take it out of the basket that it's in, you know, the pot is sitting in a decorative basket, so it has roots that are growing out of it. Now, you wouldn't bring it that way, would you?
No.
No. What would you do?
You would do what we call double potting. First of all, you'd clean it up, just like you wouldn't go to a party in your pajamas. You wouldn't bring your plant to the party with dirt on it or broken leaves. You can pinch leaves off if you need to, but you can double pot them, because if you try to move them into a better pot and change the dirt, the plant will probably die before the show. So you can set that pot inside of another more decorative pot, and that's perfectly acceptable.
That's fine. That's what do you say? What do they say? Something about the lily, dressing the lily.
You're dressing the lily.
Now, how do you become an accredited judge, Nadine?
Well, it's a long period. You are not just a self-named expert. You go through a series of 4 schools put on, sponsored actually by the National Council. And they're the same all over the country. Everybody gets the same training. And after you have gone to these 4 schools, you have a reading exam over books that you should have read. And during this time, after you've taken 2 schools, you become a student judge. And then you are required to judge with accredited judges to give you experience and little expertise. And you are also required to earn blue ribbons, both in horticulture and in design, so that you know what the average entrant is going through. And not only that, after you become an accredited judge, you must attend symposiums that are held in various cities, and you do this every 3 years to make sure that you're continuing with your self-education.
Well, do the rules change from time to time?
We're kept up to date on that with a national magazine that comes out. Yes, there are certain things that do change over the years.
Well, you've been doing it for a long time.
I've been at it for 45 years. I started in the Northwest, and when I came down here, then I had another education to go through.
So being a nationally accredited judge means that the 2 of you could go anywhere.
That's right.
And offer your services as a judge.
That's right, and internationally too. We have judges that will go down to Ensenada, for instance, and judge the shows, a show down there.
Very exciting. Now, besides the show, how does the San Dieguito Garden Club serve the community?
We have a therapy garden, and it's at Scripps Encinitas.
Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Well, they had an area outside of the rehab part of it that had just become totally run down. We went in, we stripped it down, rebuilt, and we put in beds, raised beds that were both wheelchair height and for standing. And now once a week, our members go over and they bring the patients out, and the patients work in the garden, and they do debudding the plants. They put new plants in.
Really?
And we work hand in hand. And at one point, they even had a woman that played the guitar came in.
Oh, how lovely.
And we did line dancing through the garden.
Oh, how therapeutic that must be. So I bet that most of them do it. You say that you have raised beds, so some of them probably work in their wheelchairs.
They can work in their wheelchairs. We have benches out there so they can can sit if they've been standing too long. We have a water feature so that it brings in birds and hummingbirds into the area, and it's really gives the patients a way to get out of the hospital atmosphere,
Yes.
and it's a small break in their
Yeah.
time there, but it seems to really help, and the nurses also get involved and really seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I remember back east, I used to love to go through my garden, not so much to plant as to remove the spent trusses
Yes.
on the rhododendron. I don't know why that was so relaxing for me and somehow significant of allowing new birth to take place.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. Now, do you work with any of the ecologically minded organizations locally to learn about conservation?
We have programs, monthly that include horticultural programs of all kinds. And we work with Quail Gardens, and we have quite a few of our members who are docents. Nadine is a docent at Quail Garden, and so we are included in the activities there. We try to support them. We also do their Christmas program for their Larrabee Foundation. We do the decoration for that, and that's part of our public service too.
Now, do you work with children there to encourage their desire to grow things?
Through the flower show,
Yeah.
we have, in times past, we have sponsored garden clubs for the children, but currently we are not in that program.
Well, for viewers that may have turned in late, we want to review some of the things that we have said about the flower show that is going to take place in April. Now, do you want to tell us the dates?
Okay. The flower show is going to be April 13th, 14th, and 15th. On the 13th, it will be open to the public at 1 in the afternoon, and it will be open till 4. The other days, it's open from 10 till 4. The flower show itself is free, and we encourage everyone to come, and if you don't enter, at least come and see it.
And this is an event that you hope to do annually. I think you mentioned earlier that this is your 18th show?
That's right.
Well, that's extraordinary. I guess your membership has changed over the years, and
Almost totally.
yes.
We organized in 1960, and there are very few of those members
Or
left in
still,
that club.
do you find that the age of your members has changed? More young people interested in gardening?
Yes, we are finding that, and they especially join to find out how to garden, what to garden, and it has become a much younger clientele right
Well,
now.
you certainly have changed the image of the garden club. I think people are under the impression that the garden club is picturing women at tea with their white gloves, and talking about their gardens, but you're so much more
We are not a
involved
social
in
club,
that.
but we do have our fun too, and we have potlucks a couple of times a year. We have tours at least twice a year and see very special gardens that the average person would not be able to see. And
I guess all of that information will appear on your website, though, if people want to contact you in some way. We just have a couple of minutes left, and what do you see as the future for your garden club? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I would like to see it. We haven't in the past or in the recent past had scholarships. I would love to see us get into scholarships. I would also like to see us do a little more with the children at Quail. We did use them to do decorations one year, and they made snowflakes for decorations. But I would like to see them do more in learning how to grow things. And it's one of those things that I think if they start as children, it lasts their whole life. It's not
Yes,
just something that
that's
they
true.
do with grandma for a little while. It's something that when they're grown, they also enjoy.
Yes. Do you encourage anything other than flowers? I mean, the growing of food?
Yes. And in fact, we have sections in our show where we are going to have open for
Fruit.
fruits and vegetables. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
so exciting.
Yeah.
I must make a note of those dates because we love the joy that we get from looking at the flowers and the wonderful colors that grace our area. I think that's one of the reasons why San Diego is getting so crowded, aside from the climate, the beauty that you feel, and the discovery. I remember being up on the cliffs near Point Loma in March one year and seeing the first blossom emerging from this broken thing. Anyway, it's been exciting to have you here, and I hope that you have great success with your shows and that you continue to do them. It's just beautiful.
Well, thank you for having us.
Being graced with these lovely
We hope you
floral
will
arrangements.
participate too.
Well, I prefer to be a viewer. Bye.